Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, brought to you by our friends over at Briar Greaves Insurance. Protecting your assets starts with a company that you can count on. So whether it's auto, homeowners, flood, boaters, or business insurance, there's nobody better in the business to work with than the great people over at Briar Greaves Insurance. For more information about them, give them a call at 813-876-4166. You can also visit their website at briargreavesinsurance.com, or one more time, their phone call number is 813-876-4166. Folks, we have made it to the regular season. It is our first preview episode of the year for your 2025 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So we're going to break down all the top matchups, what to watch for, and some of the top storylines to get into during today's show. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me, filling in for SR on today's show, is Adam Slavan. You'll see Adam on tomorrow, as well as we talk more about Bucs versus Falcons. Adam, hello. How we doing?
Matt, we're doing great. And I don't know about you, but I'm absolutely pumped that we're doing a preview show after all the months of the offseason. We're finally here. You got NFL games starting as soon as tomorrow night. So football's right around the corner. And for Bucs fans, previewing this game against the Falcons, it's going to be entertaining, back and forth. And the game isn't the only thing we're covering in today's show either.
Oh, yeah. Super pumped that fired up too.
Yeah.
I say fired up like the I feel like they say that in like a cheerleading movie or something like that. But fired up to see what's going to go on with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It was awesome that football came back last week with college football. There was a ton of excitement there, but the NFL is king. I love college football, and it's a lot of fun, but we know that the NFL kind of rules the day. And you know what also rules is signing your offensive linemen for long-term contract extensions. We did an emergency podcast last night about Luke Goedeke, but we'll talk about it on today's show as well. Luke Goedeke agreed to a 4-year contract extension with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's going to be paid $90 million for this, with $50 million guaranteed, and $22.5 million per season is the average annual value that he will get. This is big for so many different reasons, Adam, but you have to be jumping for joy that Luke Goedeke is going to be a Buck for a very long time.
Yes, I am. And for Luke, it's just such a journey for him, right? After 2022, where he started out the year as a left guard, he gets benched, I think, around week 7 for Nick Leverett. And you're kind of like Bucs fans all over like, oh, Luke's a bust. He's not going to amount to anything. What happened over that next offseason has proved to be one of the most like underrated moves that nobody talks about. And that's the Bucs deciding to move Tristan from right tackle to left tackle to take over for Donovan Smith, and then putting Luke back at his natural position at right tackle. And he solidified himself immediately, and he's become one of the best right tackles in the sport. And that just says volumes about the growth that Luke has taken and really the journey that he's been on, because, you know, after being casted aside his rookie year, he's become an integral part of the offensive line. And outside of Tristan Wirfs being out to start the year, Luke's kind of leading the offensive line. He's that veteran with, you know, Cody Mauch playing next to him, Grant Barton at center. He's kind of that guy that's entrusted to really fire him up. And it was great to hear Baker's comments today about Luke Goedeke, what Todd Bowles had to say. And although he's getting paid $90 million, Matt, it sounds like he's not going to be spending too much of it.
No, there was a hilarious video from Baker Mayfield today, who was certainly very happy about him, mentioned that he's a guy that blocks through the whistle, something that Todd Bowles mentioned as well, but also called him cheap. But don't take my word for it. Just listen to Baker Mayfield.
He's an unbelievable tackle, and he's a guy that sets the tone for us. He's one of those guys up front that will not stop until the whistle's blown or somebody pulls him off. So it's great to have a guy like that in the room, and he deserves that. So really happy for him, and hopefully he can, pay off the loan for his window tent that he just got.
Really?
He's probably the cheapest guy I know.
How's Luke so cheap?
One more after Rod. One more after Rod.
Glad glad you brought this up. He just is. You know, we don't gamble in the building. It's not allowed. But there's a fine system that's over the history of the NFL in the O-line room that's pretty historic. We have one not so much citizen of the O-line room that doesn't want to participate in it. So some people call it communism, anarchy, whatever you want to say. Luke's he's doing it.
Communism and anarchy. That's what Baker Mayfield had to say about his buddy, Luke Goedeke. Also, on a quick side note, Baker's been in a lot of commercials this year, and I think the showmanship is back a little bit. He's cracking up there. He's really leading the room with the media in there and stuff like that. I just thought that was a funny little side note from him. But jokes aside, and very happy for Luke Goedeke. This is big on so many different levels, Adam, because yes, he gets rewarded for really a crazy character arc that you were kind of just talking about a moment ago. But with Wirfs under contract for several years, Goedeke now getting a 4-year contract extension. Ben Bredesen, remember, got a 3-year contract this offseason. Cody Mauch has 2 more years on his deal. And Graham Barton, the starting center, another, key piece to this offense and the future of the offensive line. The Bucs technically have him under contract for 4 more years because this is his 2nd year, but he is a first-round pick, so there's a 5th-year option. That means Cody Mauch is the next guy that his contract is up, but it's in 2 more seasons from now. It's crazy to think that this offensive line, and sure, they got to deal with injuries and Tristan Wirfs as well going to this season, but this offensive line is going to be together for a very, very long time. So absolutely love how great this offense can be, but specifically, they're going to be great because they are building through the trenches a staple of Jason Licht.
Yeah, Jason Licht special, right? Building out the trenches. And the offensive line is just in such a great spot, Matt, because you look at it and you mentioned, you have probably a top 5 offensive line right now, and they're going to be sticking around, even gelling further. And this is an offensive line that's such a tight-knit group. And you're going to kind of see that on the field this season, but they can even get better, right? You look at Cody Mauch and just the leaps that he's taken from his 1st to 2nd year. You're expecting him to be better this year. And then Graham Barton, he's touted for having such a high ceiling. He's going to have a chance to reach it even more this year. So locking up Goedeke, and then you have Tristan Wirfs locked up last offseason. You have your tackles set, but then the interior offensive line just has so much promise. It's going to make Josh Grizzard's life easy when he has all the pieces, when Wirfs comes back and Godwin and everything. There's just so much talent, and like you said, it starts up front.
Yeah, if you have a group that can block, and especially pass block, I know offensive linemen enjoy run blocking a little bit more than pass blocking, but if you have a group that can give you that much more time, and that's what Baker Mayfield would like to have, you can call anything you want. I mean, Josh Grizzard will be a first-time play caller going into his first game on Sunday when the Bucs head to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. But I mean, a high school football player could call an offense if you're going to get 10 seconds of offensive protection to throw the football or whatever you really want to do. So this is great for the Bucs. I think it's a good, vibe type of thing going into the season. You want to start on a good note. Also, from a statistical standpoint, and who's the highest paid guy, this makes Luke Goedeke the 3rd highest paid right tackle in the league. So Tristan Wirfs, I believe, is the 2nd highest paid left tackle right now, and Goedeke is the 3rd highest right tackle. So paying a lot of money, but certainly 2 important positions, but also not paying top dollar because there are others that have overtaken it. So I think that's important to keep in mind as well, where they are paying a lot, but they're still keeping enough together where they can go and sign other guys and, aren't completely selling off their cap for future years to come.
And I think that's why you didn't see the Bucs kind of go after Micah Parsons or Trey Hendrickson, is because they have to lock up guys like Luke Goedeke. And he's not the only 2022 draft pick. You still have Zion McCollum, who'll probably get 15, 16 million a year. Kate Otten, who's probably going to get 12 to 13. Like, there's still work to be done. And then you got to figure out the Baker Mayfield extension, probably paying him upwards of 50 to 55 million a year. But just locking up Luke Goedeke, now he ranks only behind Penei Sewell and Lane Johnson. Like, that's elite company. But he's also solidified himself, I think, Matt, as a top 5 right tackle. And again, it all ties back into like him being a 2022 draft pick, going through those struggles, just seeing where he is now. Like, man, look at him now. He's getting paper. It was great to see.
Exactly. Nice reference there. And the come up has been fantastic. I mean, if you would have asked Bucs fans a couple seasons ago after, he got benched and everything like that and was playing guard, people were done with him then. And that's why patients are important in the NFL. So there are 2 other players that are eligible for extensions with Zion McCollum and Cade Otton. If you had your choice right now, if there was money around to do it, would you pick Zion, pick Cade, or say play it out and we'll have a further discussion when the season is over?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say right now, Matt, play it out. Let Zion prove that he's an all-pro caliber corner. And if he is, you'd be fine paying him 16, 17 million, whatever that is. I think cornerback is a more premium position than tight end. And then when you look at the Bucs tight end depth, when you have Devin Culp and Payne Durham, like worst comes to worst, Otten leaves in the offseason, you have 2 young tight ends where you could be comfortable kind of maybe splitting touches with them or drafting another one, finding a free agent, something. But Zion McCollum, I'm really excited to see him this year. And it starts in week 1 going up against Drake London, how he matches up, because he could be primed. He has all the tools to have 5-6 interceptions and be a true shutdown corner.
Yeah, we need to see Zion put it all together. And it was a good start for sure in the preseason with the interception he had against the Pittsburgh Steelers that second game. But Zion, we love him, friend of the program, has been on the show several times, has been to our Pewter Platinum member meetup as well. I love that he has the high hopes of recording 5 interceptions, 6 interceptions. But he's got to put it together this year. And I think Atlanta is a great start because, I mean, Zion was the one, it wasn't all on his fault. Everyone was involved. But, when Atlanta came back and won that game in overtime against the Bucs when Kirk Cousins threw for over 500 yards, Zion missed that last tackle that ended up being the touchdown for Atlanta in that game. He's a highly motivated guy. But I think also the fact that Jacob Parrish is around, Benjamin Morrison is around, and we'll talk more about him a little bit later in the show. It's not guaranteed that Zion, both corners, there's a world where Jamel Dean and Zion McCollum both are not here next season. Now, I probably wouldn't bet on that. I would say that there's a good chance that, Zion is back next season, but we just don't know until they go out and prove it this season. I think we kind of understand what Tampa Bay has with Jamel Dean specifically, but if Zion puts on another season, and I keep going back to what Bowles said during the NFL Combine, where he's like, Zion got bored. He got bored and didn't want to stick to the fundamentals anymore. If Zion isn't able to put up more numbers this season with takeaways and stuff like that, well, then the Bucs have a really interesting conversation on their hands based on what they did in the draft this year. So it's good food for thought for sure, and a compelling case that we'll see it play out on Sunday, and we'll see it play out this entire season.
Yeah, and kind of talking a little bit more about Zion, I want to see him be more of a badass this year, Matt. Like off the field, he's such a nice guy. He won the Mark Cook Good Guy Award for always talking and having a smile on his face. But I think to truly take that next level, and Rondé Barber, like, he was a pretty nice guy and everything. But I want to see Zion kind of take that next step for him. And I think that means being more tenacious, getting after the football. And I mean, there's so much talent in the secondary with Antoine Winfield Jr., Tyke Smith. Like, Zion should feel free. He should be the most comfortable he's ever been. He just needs it to translate.
You mentioned Rondé Barber. This is probably a good time to talk about the past, the present, and the future of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But there was an awesome, awesome red carpet event yesterday for the Bucs that you were at that was highlighting their documentary that's coming out. Bucs of the past were there with Tom Brady, John Gruden. Bucs of the present. Also, Jimmy Giles was there. Doug Williams, very much well represented by the Bucs. Jason Light was there, talking about the present. Mike Evans was there as well. You and Bailey Adams for Pewter Report were on hand for it. Tell us a little bit about it. What were the vibes? How was the event? Give us the details about what went on.
Yeah, last night's event was absolutely fantastic, and it was really just another way that the Bucs have gone all out and really nailed the celebration of the team's 50th season. So, as you mentioned, the past and the present, everybody was on hand, and you kind of saw the director Trent Cooper. He revealed like 5 unreleased scenes, and it kind of walked you through the 1979, 2002, and 2020 teams. So you heard after the 1979 season, like Doug Williams and Jimmy Giles were on stage talking, and it was just great to hear their back and forth. And then you move forward to 2002. Can't reveal too much, but what John Gruden had to say about getting traded from the Raiders to the Bucs at the last second, and just all the capital it took, the fax machine, like it was just a crazy story. And then moving forward to end the night, you had Tom Brady come out, the GOAT. All the fans got up, and there was just phones throughout, like him talking. And when Tom Brady talks, like you can hear a pin drop in a room, just the way that he can captivate a crowd. And just hearing him talk football, it's amazing, Matt. And just like the fond memories that he has over his 3 years in Tampa Bay from the 2020 season, he talked a little bit about Gronk and all the fun memories that he had with him. And then also the boat parade. And that boat parade, like Tom Brady loves it. He had a little police escort to get out there in the Hillsborough River. And then just talking about the Lombardi toss, he almost did it. He almost threw it into the crowd, but he showed some restraint. But overall, man, it was just such a great time. And for Trent Cooper, the director of it, you could tell it was a passion project for him. He grew up in Tampa. He's been a Bucs fan since their first home win against the Falcons in 1978. And yeah, like just overall, such a great experience. I was really happy to do it with Bailey, and got tons of videos and stories up on pewterreport.com, on our Instagram. So be sure to check those out.
Yeah, Ali Marpet was there too.
Yeah.
Brad Johnson, the Bucs Super Bowl winning quarterback from the first Super Bowl. There's been cool pictures circulated around of Brady and Brad Johnson, the 2 Super Bowl winning quarterbacks of the team, hoisting or holding the Lombardi trophies as well. Cannot wait for this documentary to come out. They spent a lot of time on it. Pewter Report Scott Reynolds is going to be in it, which is cool. A couple of other media members, and I'm sure there's tons and tons of conversations with Bucs players and personnel and people that have been involved with it.
And Matt, one thing I'll say to that extent is like all those interviews, 100 interviews, Trent Cooper was talking about it. There's going to be so much unseen footage from this. Like John Gruden, he talked to him for 5 hours. Doug Williams, several hours. So this wasn't just players going in like Warren Sapp being like, oh, I'll do 10, 20 minutes. No, every single guy was like just so extensive with their thought. And it isn't so much historical as it is telling a story in a way you haven't heard it before. Like Trent was saying last night, you're not going to be watching a war documentary. You're going to be watching a really emotional kind of expletive filled like bit with Tom Brady, you know, just absolutely cursing out Ali Marpet during the Jets game in 2021. And it was just so great to hear it, and just stories that you haven't heard before. So when this documentary comes out, Bucs fans, you have to watch it.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, because we're talking about 50 years of history, so there will be some information for sure. But at the same time, like when the Bucs won the Super Bowl in 2002, there's not that behind the scenes stuff that we see every single day with today's NFL. That's just the nature of the way technology has grown and how social media. I mean, there's no social media back then,
right?
And the Bucs won the Super Bowl in 2002, so there's plenty of stories and behind the scenes stuff that I'm sure that we don't know. And then at the same time, in 2020, that was right in the middle of COVID. The league policies were so different at the time, and even coming out of it too. So even like now, we see so many things with Baker and his guys, but we didn't see that as much with Tom Brady and the rest of the team, again, because of all the access that was allowed at the time due to what was going on in the world. So to find this all out and to learn more and more about it, it's just going to be an absolute treat for Bucs fans, which is going to be great. Kathy Scavelli says last night was amazing. I guess Kathy was there in
Nathan
attendance
Elliott was
too.
there.
So,
Shout out to you.
yeah, a lot of cool stuff for sure. Speaking of amazing and talking about some of the history of the Bucs as well, Mike Evans was there. Mike Evans was also named as a team captain today, along with 5 other Bucs. There were 6 total. So in no particular order, it was Mike Evans, Levante David, Baker Mayfield, Tristan Wirfs, Antoine Winfield Jr., and Vita Vea, the 6 captains from this year. They are also the same 6 captains that were captains of this team last year. Mike Evans has now been a captain. I believe this is his 9th year. This is 12 years, I think, for Levante David. I like that Antoine Winfield Jr. and Tristan Wirfs have been linked so many different times now because they were in the same draft class with Tristan Wirfs in the first round and then Antoine Winfield Jr. in the second round. They also became captains together in 2023. So they're in the mix again as well. Vita Vea has been a captain since 2018 and is now the longest tenured captain besides Evans and Levante David. So good for him. And Baker Mayfield leaving his impact on this team. He's been a captain every single year that he's been with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Chris Godwin Jr. not named a captain.
Yeah.
He wasn't a captain either. So the last time he was a captain was in 2023 when the Bucs actually had 8 captains as well. I believe Devin White was the other captain too. So not too many surprises for sure, just based on that it's everyone from last season, but just cool to see the continuity of this team, the leadership, a group of guys that have continued to excel at a high rate. They keep coming back, whether they have been under contract or not. And it's just cool to see a productive group back together again as the captains of this year's team.
Yeah, really no arguments with any of the captains that the Bucs decided to pick, and it's just such a hard process, Matt, because so many high character guys, all this continuity. You could really argue for so many players like Chris Godwin, who was the captain, now isn't anymore. Even Emeka Buka for being a rookie, like just his high character. Like you look all around, like Graham Barton. You can look at the defense, be like Servassier Dennis. Like there's just so many high character guys, but ultimately only 6 players get to wear that C on the chest. But they picked offensive and defensive players at each level, and really the veteran in the room, right? When Antoine Winfield Jr., kind of the leader of the secondary, Vita Vea, defensive line, and so on and so forth. But overall, the captains, they made some great picks, and you can't argue.
Yeah, I think Ibuka will eventually be a team captain when it's all said and done. And I know it's early. Graham Barton, I think, is a good answer as well. Bucky has a chance. He's a little bit more of the lead by example, but we'll see. I mean, there's got to be several years ahead before there's some new captains on this team. Let's start breaking down Bucs versus Falcons and looking at some of the personnel. This personnel might be available for Sunday because Benjamin Morrison finally practiced for the first time in quite a while. He did not participate at all during the preseason, didn't play in a game. The Bucs wanted to be precautious about it for sure, but he did return. He didn't practice Monday either. There was a bonus practice. He was not involved there, but he was moving around a little bit today. Didn't really see him doing too many drills. The Bucs have him listed on the injury report with a quad injury. The injury report just came out literally 7 minutes ago. So we can kind of get into that right now. But before that, Adam, just the importance of having Benjamin Morrison out there just so the Bucs have options in the secondary. How do you feel about that?
Well, it's essential, especially for what Todd Bowles wants to do with the defense. You kind of heard him talk about it today. And well, he wouldn't say it was an epiphany. He's like, over the offseason, there's so many schematic changes that he's wanted to make, whether that's playing more press man and just getting the corners more involved. And I think Benjamin Morrison in 2025 and going forward, he's going to be a critical part of that because you mentioned earlier in the show, like Zion McCollum and Jamel Dean, we don't know their status heading into next season, but Benjamin Morrison, he's on that 4-year rookie deal. You want to see him out there on the field. So today he took a step in the right direction. Todd Bowles wouldn't go on to say whether or not he would play just that we're going to look at how he's progressing throughout the week, and we're going to come to a decision. But even if Benjamin Morrison's out there a little bit, Matt, I think you're going to see glimpses of that talent that he had, because if it wasn't for injuries, there's no doubt he would have been a first-round pick. He has all the talent, the playmaking ability, and, there's that unique kind of storyline that Xavier Watts, his teammate at Notre Dame, he's on the other side of things with the Falcons.
Yeah, Baker Mayfield was asked about that today. Like, do you go to Benjamin Morrison, ask him about Xavier Watts? But Baker said that, he wanted Benjamin Morrison to, kind of develop on his own at the same time, even though he's asking information about another guy. But Morrison was limited in his participation today with a quad injury. The good news was Josh Hayes, the special teams cornerback, with an ankle injury, practiced in full, as did Sean Tucker, who has a hand injury. We're finally finding out what all of these specifics are with the injuries, because we are in the regular season. Not participating for the Bucs, Chris Godwin Jr. with an ankle injury. Hassan Reddick had a personal issue, so he was not there. Vita Vea has a foot injury, did not participate. Tristan Wirfs' knee injury, did not participate. The big one that we were looking for, but now we'll pay a little bit more attention to Vita Vea, although I feel like that's more of a rest day than anything else. Christian Izien with an oblique injury did not participate. That's one to pay attention to for sure. For Atlanta, much smaller list. DeMarco Helms, the safety, hamstring, did not participate. Jack Nelson, offensive lineman, calf injury, did not participate. Darnell Mooney, who we'll talk about, the wide receiver, shoulder was limited. Clark Phillips III, a cornerback, has a rib injury. He is limited as well. But Christian Izien plans to be a factor for the Bucs defensively, just based on his versatility, what he's able to do both in the slot, but as a key backup in front behind Antoine Winfield Jr. and Tyke Smith. That's something that could be pretty significant for the first game of the season.
Yeah, it has a chance to be, Matt, because the Bucs only have one safety on the practice squad in Jack Henderson. And now with Benjamin Morrison's injury, you might see Bryce Hall maybe get elevated up to the active roster. But with Izzy in there, it's hard to replace him, right? Because he's the backup to Winfield, really that third safety on defense. So depending on what Bowles wants to do, he might see the field. He probably will, because he played 70% of snaps last season. And not having that super defensive back that Izzy is, somebody that can do it all, it could come back to hurt him.
Yeah, it just sucks that there's injuries that are, affecting this team so quickly already. Like, we're not even through the first week of the season, and now we're talking about Benjamin Morrison and Christian Izien, and we've been talking about Chris Godwin Jr. and Tristan Wirfs since, before this draft even came through and everything like that. So, things we have to monitor, but we are getting back into the swing of things for the season. So, a good point from Flash Gordon, who said, Bowles says Izien's injury is just, how's your pain threshold? But when you think about like the entire season, it's like, do you want to ease him along and then have him deal with the pain threshold, or just kind of deal with the pain threshold and then, kind of get injured later on? So I don't know. Yeah. I don't think there's a right answer to that one way or another, but we will be monitoring that situation. You should also be monitoring your situation when it comes to the right type of insurance that you need with your family. So of course, we love Briar Greaves Insurance. They are the best people in the business to work with. If you're a longtime podcast listener, you probably remember the late, great Mark Cook talking about Briar Greaves Insurance. Pewter Report Scott Reynolds has been a Briar Greaves customer for years. There simply is not a better insurance company in the Tampa Bay area. Visit BriarGreavesInsurance.com to see for yourself. Briar Greaves Insurance is family owned, and their main goal is helping people. They want to help people find the right insurance policy for you and your family. Whether it's home or auto, boating insurance, or business insurance, turn to Briar Greaves and find out why their personal touch and customer service sets them apart. The days of waiting on hold to speak with an insurance representative that you don't even know are over. With Briar Greaves Insurance, you'll have a relationship with your agent who can answer your questions and advise you on the best policies. As 2 recent hurricanes have shown all of us that live in the Tampa Bay area, there is a cost to living in paradise. Briar Greaves can help make sure you have the right hurricane and flood insurance to make sure you and your home are protected. Visit BriarGreavesInsurance.com today. That's Briar, B-R-I-E-R, Greaves, G-R-I-E-V-E-S, or call their office today at 813-876-4166. That's 813-876-4166, and tell them that Pewter Report sent you. All right. We are talking about Bucs versus Falcons and this week 1 NFC South divisional matchup. We're going to start with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, led by Baker Mayfield and Josh Grizzard on offense, how they look going up against Atlanta's defense. And I find it interesting overall with each group, whether it's the Bucs offense, more specifically their defense, but with Atlanta's offense and defense as well. These teams are certainly familiar with each other. There are players that have been here for several years that have gone to battle against each other. But at the same time, Adam, these groups look so entirely different based on some of the additions they've made this year. Atlanta, certainly with their edge rushers, drafting 2 of them this year. Tampa Bay is going to look different on offense without having Tristan Wirfs or Jalen McMillan or Chris Godwin Jr., plus Emeka Egbuka factoring in to be very important to this team. This is an interesting matchup in so many different ways for the Bucs and the Falcons.
Completely agree. And when we start out by looking at the Bucs offense versus the Falcons defense, I actually want to read a quote from Jeff Ulbrich, kind of talking about his defensive scheme back in January. So he said, if we look back 15 to 20 years ago, there were 3-4 teams and there were 4-3 teams, and you were one or the other. It's not that way anymore. And when you look at the Falcons depth chart, Matt, they're kind of like a 4-2-5, where they have 2 defensive linemen listed, 2 edge rushers, 2 linebackers, and 5 guys in the secondary. And it sounds like, based on what Ulbrich had to say, that he's going to be kind of changing things up, throwing some different looks at Josh Grizzard, and kind of seeing how the first-time play caller, really, because it's his first NFL game, how he's able to adjust on the fly without Tristan Wirfs, without Chris Godwin Jr. And so I'm really interested to see, Matt, what the Bucs offense looks like what Grizzard's able to dial up, because it doesn't sound like it's going to be easy. And then you look at the Falcons, they drafted 2 edge rushers and James Pierce Jr. and Jalen Walker. They made some changes up front. No more Grady Jarrett, but you have 2 young guys and Brandon Dorless and Root Garoro. So there's just so much talent there. And the strongest part of Atlanta's defense, I would say, is that secondary.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Jesse Bates has been there for a little bit now. Xavier Watts, I really wanted the Bucs to draft him. Yes, there was that cool connection with Morrison had already been drafted. It would have been fun to have 2 teammates in college together on the back end as well. But there's definitely a lot of speed with Xavier Watts and what he can bring. The Charlie Heck factor, and we'll talk about this on tomorrow's show too, where we focus a little bit more about the trenches and what's going on there. But the Charlie Heck factor with 2 young up-and-coming edge rushers, to me, is most intriguing for this matchup. And we can't forget about Leonard Floyd as well. Like James Pierce Jr. is listed as second on Atlanta's depth chart. Jalen Walker is as well, with Arnold Ebiketie, the former Penn State Nittany Lion, in the first string as well. But we're going to see both of those players too. I think, and it makes sense that Jeff Ulbrich would throw so many different things at Josh Grizzard, because you don't know until you see it in a regular season. And even Baker Mayfield kind of mentioned it today. He was like, yeah, defenses, they don't show anything in the preseason, because he was asked about not playing in the preseason. And you're not seeing anything from the defensive side there. But at the same time, this is an offense that was able to score 29.5 points per game last season. So they can't afford to have too much of a drop-off. I think you're going to have some young, aggressive edge rushers for the Atlanta Falcons. And how do you combat that? Screens, running the football, making them think a little bit more than just kind of pinning their ears and going after the quarterback, because the Bucs have to go deep. I understand that there's been a emphasis on more vertical, going deeper, that type of stuff. But I don't think we're going to see that right away based
No.
on the personnel that Tampa Bay has. I think, hey, we have 4 out of our 5 starting offensive linemen back. We just paid one of these guys $90 million to block for us. I think they're going to run the ball a ton to the right side, utilize the athleticism of Cody Mauk, how he can get to the second level. Graham Barton as well with his athleticism. I think it's going to be a heavy game for Bucky Irving and the rest of the running backs of how they want to go about moving the football. And then they'll take some shots with Mike Evans. Emeka Egbuka, the yards after the catch. I think very much this first game, it'll look like last season to try to combat the aggressive nature of Jeff Ulbrich. Because I know he was with the Jets for a couple of years. And the Jets with Robert Saleh, they didn't blitz that much. But when Robert Saleh got fired last year, then they went blitz happy, and Jeff Ulbrich was the one calling the plays and became the interim head coach. So I think we're going to see aggressiveness on each side for the defense.
Yeah, and when you kind of look at both offenses, Matt, it's interesting. Like the Bucs have Charlie Heck, and then Atlanta without Caleb McGarry and Storm Norton, they're going to be rolling out a third string right tackle. So I think for both offenses, what you're seeing on Sunday isn't what you're going to be seeing when these two teams play each other later in the year. This is going to be a really interesting matchup. And when I kind of look at what Grizzard might do, a lot of 12 personnel, running 2 tight ends, putting him on the left side, which is different because worse, you never really put a tight end next to him because you're just expecting him to be on an island. But now it's going to be, like you said, a lot of runs to the right. I think they're going to try to manufacture touches to Emeka Egbuka, a lot like they did with Chris Godwin last year, and just, dink and dunk your way down the field because Baker, he's probably not going to have as much time to throw without Wirfs there and Charlie Heck. I think Heck will hold his own, but again, he's not the best left tackle in the NFL. So I think you're going to see the offense make some changes, but I still think it'll be a balanced offense like it was last year because, again, you just have so many offensive weapons to utilize, and Grizzard's going to find ways to. It might not be pretty at first, though.
I'm very curious, too, how they're going to go about, because Egbuka can line up everywhere, right? He can go outside. He can line up in the slot, too. The Bucs have with their depth chart right now, they kind of have Sterling Shepard as that guy in the slot with Egbuka being on the other side for this team with Mike Evans out wide as well. And I know Egbuka is a rookie, but he looks kind of ready-made already. Shepard has been a veteran in the league for quite a while, certainly has that chemistry to go with Baker Mayfield. And we could see a lot of Oklahoma on Oklahoma because the main nickel corner for Atlanta is Billy Bowman Jr., who played at Oklahoma and was a 4th-round pick by Atlanta this year. I'm curious if that's where they try to get a top advantage where they don't have to go too deep. They could go over the middle with Egbuka versus Shepard is not as much of the yards after the catch type of guy, just given his age and how long he's been in his career. To me, Shepard is the type of guy, if you need a 3rd and 7, he'll get you like the 8 yards you need for the first down, but don't expect like a huge explosive plays. His touchdowns last year, too, none of them were like deep bombs. He did score against Atlanta last year, if I'm not mistaken. But I want to see how much Egbuka is utilized in the slot versus outside, especially going up against a fellow rookie. If you're going rookie on rookie, I'm still taking Emeka Egbuka. And I think you make a really good point, too, when it comes to how are they going to go about protecting Charlie Heck. I think it could be a big day for Payne Durham as well. I know we'll talk about Cade Otton, who just came back, but when it's all said and done with the snap count, I think we're going to see more reps from Payne Durham this season or this game than maybe we did at all last year.
Yeah, that's a great point. And like if you read Scott Reynolds' camp diary with Payne Durham throughout the offseason, like you heard about the strides that he made as a blocker. And now you might see him a little bit more on the field, as you mentioned, because I think the Bucs are going to play more of a physical offensive game where they're not relying maybe on Mike as much as they will like later on in the season, just based on the fact that, Baker's going to need to get the ball out quickly. And that's why you might see Emeka, for all you fantasy owners out there, probably get more touches in week 1 than Big Mike.
How do you feel? This is more than just kind of the Atlanta game, but I've been asked that. Oh, well, since Godwin isn't there, Godwin Jr. and McMillan isn't there, like teams are just going to double up on Mike Evans for the entirety of the game. I still kind of feel, though, that Mike is going to get his opportunities. Like we saw this last year when other players were injured. He still put up great numbers, especially at the end of the season. But how do you see it?
I'm not worried at all about like teams doubling Mike, because you saw last year, Matt, in week 18, when the Saints, they had every defender eyeing up Mike Evans. You know who still came down with that ball? Mike Evans. So
Yeah.
I don't think that even if he's doubled, like that it'll be a big deterrent, because he'll be schemed up, and his route savviness at age 32, it's at such a point where he's just going to find ways to get open. So I still expect him to be utilized and probably make some big plays when they do look to stretch the ball downfield.
You and I were in Pittsburgh for the joint practice between the Bucs and Steelers. I know
He
Jalen
lit it up.
Ramsey's an older corner as well, but Mike just gets the job done over
Yeah.
and over. It honestly does not matter who he is going against. That's why I'm so excited for several reasons for Bucs versus Jets in week 3, but I don't think Mike has gone up against Sauce Gardner before. So I can't wait for that matchup. That's going to be a ton of fun. But yeah, we're here to talk about Bucs versus Atlanta. We're going to talk about the Bucs defense in just a moment, but also want to talk about Immunity Financial and how Immunity Financial can help you in several different ways. Will your savings last through retirement? Take the 2-minute quiz with Immunity Financial. Scan the QR code or visit immunity.com/retire. See if you are set up to live well. And they can help you with a number of different things as well, like annuities, sales and trading. If you want to set up a college account for your child, if they plan on going to some type of university, you can also go to Immunity Financial for that. They have locations all over, not just in Colorado, as the commercial usually goes, not just in Tampa. You could be in Oklahoma. You can be in North Dakota. You can be in Vermont or California. They have it all over the place. So check out Immunity Financial, scan the QR code, or visit immunity.com/retire if you're looking for your retirement specifically and how they can help you. So shout out to our friends over at Immunity Financial. The injuries are one thing, and Hassan Reddick did not participate today. Wasn't injury related, so no injury worries right then and there. But to me, as exciting and aggressive as this defensive secondary will be, to me, the return of Hassan Reddick is the most important thing for the Bucs defense to really get off the ground and show that they are a completely different unit from what they were last season. And when I say the return of Hassan Reddick, I know it's his first year in Tampa Bay, but the return of the double-digit sack, 10 sacks, 12 sacks, the guy you have to worry about every single time the ball is snapped, particularly on third down. Adam, Hassan Reddick, if he's a menace this year for the Bucs, they are going further than they've ever gone with Todd Bowles as their head coach.
Yes, 100%. Like Hassan Reddick this year, Matt, is that X factor on the Bucs defense. And in a lot of ways, when you look back to 2020, what really propelled that defense? Well, after watching last night's event, I think Shaq Barrett and JPP, they had pretty good games in that Super Bowl.
They did.
Back when Todd Bowles was, in his defensive bag, when he was able to do whatever he wanted against one of the best quarterbacks in football. And so when you look at Hassan Reddick this year, if he lives up to that, if he proves to be that bargain bin find when edge rushers are getting 30, 40 million a year, if you could pay a guy 14 million and have him get double-digit sacks, I mean, you'll take that every single day of the week. And Reddick, he's not too far removed from that. So I think there's a lot of promise there, and there's no better start for him than this Sunday going up against primarily a third-string right tackle. I mean, he is set up to feast, Matt, and it would not be surprising if he gets, maybe 2-3 sacks and has that kind of dominant game that maybe Aiden Hutchinson had last year against Justin School.
Yeah, for sure. And I think there's more than just the backup offensive tackle that really plays into this. We have to remember that another big difference from this game is that Michael Penix Jr. is the one in at quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons. The Bucs did not go up against him last year. Not many teams did. He only played in 3 games. They lost 2 of those games, including the Carolina Panthers, who had no defense last year. They had injuries throughout, and their defense will be much better this upcoming season. But you got to think, Todd Bowles and his track record against essentially rookie quarterbacks. Again, I know Michael Penix isn't technically a rookie quarterback, but Brock Purdy's really been the only rookie quarterback, young quarterback that has truly gotten the better of Todd Bowles. Jaden Daniels did win as a rookie last season, but that was after an entire season. They did go up against Jaden Daniels week 1, and we saw how that went. I think we can kind of see a similar performance from that Tampa Bay defense, where Michael Penix still hasn't seen a lot. He's not going to have a great offensive line in front of him. You're going to have Hassan Reddick. You could still blitz if you want to. Remember, they were still top 10 in sacks despite what they weren't able to do with a formidable pass rush. And another factor is that Kalijah Kancey will be playing in this game. Kalijah Kancey has yet to play in a season opener for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I just think with the way that Todd Bowles can draw up different things, the way that Michael Penix Jr. has not seen a lot go on in the NFL just yet, there will be plenty of disguises, blitzes, different coverages that we haven't even seen yet that Todd Bowles can throw against Michael Penix. And they better work, because while I think the Bucs are going to win this division, and they should win before they even get to the last game of the season, to me, Atlanta is a little bit of all or nothing in terms of it could fall apart quickly if Michael Penix Jr. is not the guy. But if he is the guy for them, if Michael Penix Jr. is anything the way that Jaden Daniels was for Washington, I know they're different styles of players, but Bo Nix in Denver, then the Bucs have a legit problem on their hands, because different personnel, but Drake London has torched the Bucs several times, not just last season. Bijan Robinson, one of the best running backs in the league. It's no cakewalk against Atlanta if they figure out the quarterback position. And to me, that's the biggest question mark going into this game.
Yeah, and if we are considering like Michael Penix as a rookie quarterback, based on the fact he didn't play much last year, you saw how quickly rookie quarterbacks can transform a whole organization. Like you mentioned it, Bo Nix and the Broncos, like they sucked before Bo Nix was there. The Commanders, they were mired in quarterback dysfunction until Jaden Daniels came and saved the day. So I think when you look at that, if things go and fall in line just right, like the Falcons could be pretty formidable based on the fact that they have Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, like all these offensive weapons, and Raheem Morris leading the defense if he gets them elevated up a notch. But I will say, if you're Zach Robinson, the offensive coordinator, you'd kind of be doing a disservice if you're looking at last year's Tampa Bay defense and expecting the same thing, because Todd Bowles has spent the whole offseason preparing for this game, preparing for this week 1 matchup. So you're going to be seeing a lot of different elements. And another thing, I don't think it's a bold statement to say that Michael Penix won't be as good as Kirk Cousins was against the Bucs, because Kirk was historic against a really bad defense last year. And Kyle Pitts in 2 games, Matt, he had 30% of his receiving yards and 50% of his touchdowns against the Bucs. I don't think that's going to happen again this year.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if any quarterback throws for 500 yards against the Bucs this season, let alone a guy that's on the team from last year. And I think Michael Penix can be a solid quarterback, but week 1 against the Bucs, and knowing that they're going to have a relatively healthy group, that's going to be pretty difficult to go up against. But it should be a really fun game. The top 2 teams in the division going against each other, and the Bucs have been undefeated in week 1 and week 2 in the Todd Bowles era, undefeated in the Baker Mayfield era as well. So hopefully they can keep that streak continuing. We're going to get to some super chats and everything as well. But first, want to talk about a new sponsor as well. Splash Sports is partnering up with Pewter Report this upcoming season. Make sure you download the Splash Sports app. You can look at the QR code right there and download the app, or check out Pewter Report's social media, and you can get the link for their app as well. The NFL season is here, and you can join over 2.5 million people playing on Splash Sports. They are the home for Survivor, Pick'em, and Quick Picks. Whether you want to create your own contest with friends or take a shot at life-changing prize pools like the $2.5 million Big Splash Survivor, Splash Sports has you covered. And for Bucs fans, our Pewter people, you can join the official Pewter Report contests on Splash Sports and prove you're the sharpest fan in Bucs Nation. Think you've got what it takes? Download Splash Sports and join the Pewter Report Survivor League, and let's find out who the best Bucs fan really is. Yes, we have a Pewter Report Survivor League going on right now. You have until Sunday to sign up. It's $15 to join. Winner takes all. Would love to get as many people as we can for this group. If you want to support Pewter Report with this new advertiser, join our Survivor League. If you don't know what Survivor League is, you pick one team per week to win. You can't use them again once you use them one time, and you keep going until there's only one team left. If your team loses, you're out. But if you get out through the first month of the season, you likely will have a really good chance. So check out Splash Sports. We're going to have some pick'em leagues as well. I'm going to talk about Splash Sports quick picks and some prop bets to use on Pewter Picks and Props. So going to be using it all season long, and would love if everyone could get involved as well with Splash Sports. Check out their QR code. Download the app today. Okay, let's get over to some of these super chats. Starting with KGH for Life. Thank you for the $5. Says, Kirk Cousins had 2 great games last season, and they were against the Bucs. That's an indictment on Bowles' scheme and strategy. Listen, I think Todd Bowles will be the first one to admit he didn't have the best play calling setup last season. Some of it was personnel for sure, but I think there definitely could have been more tweaks and adjustments. But all we've heard from him this offseason is aggressiveness, killer instinct, takeaways. Takeaways have been the biggest thing more than anything else. And the Bucs have taken it to heart. If anyone has watched the preseason, it's definitely been a mainstay for them. So I don't expect any type of Bucs defense that we saw last year going into Sunday's game.
Completely agree. I don't expect the defense, like the coverage, to be as poor as it was last year. Because, I mean, that was really the thing, Matt. When you had KJ Britt out there going up against Kyle Pitts, like he had 2 big games, but this year you have Servassier Dennis there kind of plugging up the middle. So I think with better personnel, and then as you mentioned, Bowles making those tweaks and adjustments to really kind of fine-tune things. Like you have more of an aggressive pass rush. They've really had no problem getting after the quarterback, ranking in the top 5 every single year in terms of getting sacks on quarterbacks. You have a great run defense year in and year out. It's just getting the coverage up to par. And I think with the moves that they made, drafting BMO, Jacob Parrish, moving some guys around, you're going to see a better defensive performance than you did last year against the Dirty Birds.
Yeah, and another factor, too, is Tyke Smith moving to safety instead of playing in the nickel. I think that could make a difference as well. Jordy Peterson being very optimistic. Thank you for the $4.99 super chat. Says, I'm seeing a 4-sack day for the defense, and Servassier Dennis will get an interception. It's very funny that you brought up Servassier Dennis because he was the guy that was making plays for this team in practice and training camp in other seasons. We didn't see it as much this year, but that's because his coverage has become so good that they haven't really been throwing at him. But Sunday would be the opportune time for Michael Penix to forget that Servassier Dennis is a quality coverage inside linebacker. I'm sure a lot of people forget it because he really hasn't been available that much.
Yeah, you really haven't seen it, but Dennis has a lot of tools to really be a really superb coverage linebacker. And Jordy, when you say you're seeing a 4-sack day, I am too. I think Goedeke gets 2. I think Vita Vea going up against a new center, like the Falcons lost Drew Dahlman in free agency. I think Big Vita will bring down Michael Penix. And then maybe Kalijah Cansey, playing in week 1 finally. Maybe he gets a sack too.
Let's move to Carlos Farley. Thank you for the $2 super chat. We appreciate you. If you happen to put in another comment before the end of the show, we will get to it. Or if you're on tomorrow's show, we will put up your comment as well. Thank you for the super chat. Paul Bowen with the $1.99. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul.
Says, got my tickets for Sunday. See y'all at the game. Hell yeah. We love that for you, Paul Bowen. Maybe we'll run into Josh Capo, who will be at the game. That's always great. He's awesome at what he does. By the way, it's probably a good time to remind everybody that we have a lot of stuff coming up on the day of the game, starting with the Pewter pregame show. That'll be taking place at 9 a.m. on Sunday, September 7th, the morning of when the Bucs play the Falcons. It'll be the freshest news that you can have about your Tampa Bay Buccaneers heading into their road game against Atlanta. We'll have injury updates. We'll do a little more individual matchups with the breakdown and analysis of the game, and that's on at 9 o'clock. So we'd love if you could join us early, but of course we know you might have plans Sunday before the game kicks off. Maybe you're going to church, maybe you're going shopping, whatever the case may be, food shopping. But it will be on our YouTube channel. So if you can't watch us live at 9 o'clock, watch us at 10, 11, or 12. Obviously, the game takes place at 1 o'clock, so you're not going to watch a preview game at 1 o'clock when the game gets going. But that's because the Pewter Game Day show will be on. It'll be myself and the newly acquired Daniel Morales doing play-by-play, giving our reactions, analysis, insight, anything we heard from the Bucs facility throughout the week. We'll relay that to people on the show as well, maybe one way or another, where the Bucs were leaning with their strategy and how they're executing plays. But Pewter Game Day has been so much fun. We keep it very interactive with everybody in the comments as well, so we do want to make sure that we get everybody involved. But that's the Pewter Game Day show. That takes place Sunday at 1 o'clock on Pewter Report TV. Don't listen to the announcers. Listen to Matty Diamonds with the Pewter Game Day show. We will have a Pewter post-game show as well, not long after when the Bucs and Falcons are done. That will be kind of TBD. It kind of depends on when the game ends, when we hear from Todd Bowles and company as well. So a lot of good stuff coming up, along with a show tomorrow. We will be talking about, can the Bucs dominate in the trenches in Atlanta? That'll be on at 4 o'clock. Moving along with the super chats. Cuse44 says, can't wait to see the Tasmanian Devil, or the Tasmanian Devil. Should be super fun. I think Tez Johnson's going to really be a factor for this team while the other wide receivers are out.
Yeah, and the one interesting part about the depth chart, Matt, was that Cameron Johnson was the main punt returner and kick returner with Sean Tucker. But I'd be curious to see if Tez gets any playing time there. And then also as wide receiver 4, as you mentioned, with J-Mac and Chris Godwin Jr. out, you might see Josh Grizzard put him on the field. Maybe not a ton of snaps, but, 15, 20 snaps of Tez. I think he can make things happen.
Yeah, I have a feeling that he's not the main kick or punt returner because he's going to have more usage on offense, again, until Chris Godwin Jr. is back and stuff like that. And then when he is not maybe used on offense as much, then we'll kind of see him back there on kick and punt return, or even when Chris Godwin Jr. and Jalen McMillan come back. But I'm excited for the Tez show. He's a thrilling player to watch. Eric Moreno, thank you for the $2 super chat.
Thank you.
Wants to know, is Vita okay? Saw he didn't practice today. That came as a little bit of a surprise that Vita Vea was not at practice today, considering he really hasn't practiced that much lately, just with the long Labor Day weekend and having a little time off. But we'll find out tomorrow whether or not Vita Vea will be available. But, man, Adam, that would absolutely suck if it's like they finally get Kalijah Cansey back and then Vita Vea is not ready for the first game.
Yeah, then he's the one out for week 1. And Vita Vea, he's such a big part of what Todd Bowles wants to do in terms of run defense, too. So if he's out and it's just Kalijah there, like Kalijah's not somebody that's going to throw his weight around like the big guy. So, yeah, it's going to be something to monitor going forward.
He's 0813. Thanks for the $5 super chat. Says, I like Raheem the person. I do not trust Raheem, the head coach. He has a losing record as a head coach for a reason. I see regime change there after the season. That's something I asked Greg Allman, who was on the show yesterday. I said, if Atlanta, essentially has a season like they did last year with all of these high expectations, is Raheem Morris on the hot seat? It's certainly a possibility because there's a ton of talent on this team, but the coaching has not put them over the top just yet, which is great for the Bucs. So we'll see with Raheem Morris. I do agree. Good dude, but, that's not going to get you wins in the NFL.
Yeah, you want to see results, and I think if the Falcons don't finish probably 9-8 or better, that Raheem's probably out the door, Matt, because you look at it, like all the strength is on the offensive side of the ball. You'd kind of want that young offensive mind to, take hold of Michael Penix Jr. and get the most out of him. And then Jeff Ulbrich as a defensive coordinator, you have a veteran there who can lead that unit. So it kind of leaves Raheem Morris as the odd man out if they don't perform this year.
Last super chat, Paul Bowen. Thanks for the $1.99 super chat. Says, any good prop bets, Matt, and over under this week? Well, that's a great question. I will be addressing that on the newest Pewter Picks and Props that will be out relatively soon. You could check that out with the Bucs and the NFL Sunday games. I'll have some picks for that as well. I'll have a separate show for college football, separate shows as well for the Thursday night games and Monday night games. Those will be shorter because it's only one game. We're talking about the prop bets, but you could see that on Pewter Picks and Props. I also made some futures prop bets for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with their over-under win total, some future prop bets on Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, Bucky Irving. So you could check all of that out. It's on our YouTube channel, Pewter Report TV, along with Adam's top 10 takeaways, which will be out this week after the game is done as well. But thank you for the super chat. Appreciate the question. And also a big time thank you to all of our Pewter Platinum members. So shout out and thank you to Scott Federico, Rachel Gordon, Noah Parr, Scotty J, Dave Anderson, Hezo813, Ash Fishpool, Joel Elrican, Sam, John Dale Morris, Zap Brannigan, RP89, Connor 4 Reels, Kevin Thomas, Leighton Carter, The Guy is Gifted, Brandon Riley, Alec Bickler, Nick Dubuque, Zach Jarvis, Mario Thomas, Eric McMillan, Dominic Tarantino, and last but certainly not least, HK Bucks. Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you, everyone.
Of pewterreport.com. We'll also have a Pewter Insider on Friday at 1:30 for Pewter Platinum and Premier members. We'll let you know who's in and who's out for the game. So make sure you check all of that out on Pewter Report TV. And just a reminder, one last time, we have another show tomorrow at 4 o'clock talking about the trenches and also the latest from the Advent Health Training Center. We'll see Josh Grizzard have his first press conference of a game week as offensive coordinator, and a lot of other great stuff coming up. Bucs football is on the horizon. We can't wait for it. So if you're not already doing so, please follow us on all of our social media on X, Facebook, and Instagram. We're at Pewter Report and our YouTube channels, Pewter Report TV. Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment on this video, how you feel about the Bucs going into the 2025 season. That'll do for us on today's show. For Adam Slavon, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you tomorrow at 4 o'clock for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.